Hello folks, my name is Mark. Thanks for viewing this video. This particular video is going to be a quick overview of what's included in the PM servicing on a clinical microscope. And if you're here just for this video, wonderful. There is a free PDF downloadable supplement on the website, which is really helpful. And the first topic on that downloadable supplement is this procedure, the PM procedure. So go get that and print that one out. And it's important because it gives you a line item description of what's in a PM servicing. And CAP inspectors now, College of American Pathology, they want to see that. They want the lab manager in the lab manager's hard copy that gets shown to the inspectors to have a line item description step by step of what's included in their PM servicing. You can't just have a check mark that says PM. The reason why CAP is concerned is that they're after vendors who don't know what they're doing. Because anybody can start a company to service microscopes. There's no, standard there. But the new company comes in, canned air, poof, poof, PM, and they put a sticker on it, and they haven't done anything really to the microscope. So CAP says, no, we want you to commit to what's included in the PM procedure. So that's on that handout there. So please download that, have that available. We're gonna real quickly talk about the PM procedure. The first step in the PM procedure is what I call the evaluation step. And what you are doing basically is you're just checking the microscope out. It just takes 2 minutes. You want to see if there's any major problems. If there are major problems, the lab might not be able to give it to you for an hour to fix. They might need it. So you just can't jump in and assume you have access to the equipment for a long period of time. And it gives you a heads up if there's something major, like the mechanism is jammed or something like that. So you turn to the lab folks, you say, hey, I noticed the mechanism's jammed. How long has it been that way? Let me check it out for you. So you're just touching base with them, you're checking the microscope out. It takes 2 minutes. You want to make sure the IPD is working. You want to make sure the oculars are adjustable for the left, right eye. You want to make sure the slide holder is working. You make sure the mechanical stage is adjustable. The condenser, it can move and is positioned. Focus mechanism and the electronics. The light bulb's not flickering. You're just kind of giving it a 2-minute once over. So the actual PM procedure then, once you've checked it out, is what I call just like a tear down and cleaning. So let me just verbally talk about it. We're going to take everything off the microscope and we're going to clean it and then we're going to put everything back on. Okay. So the oculars just come out and are set aside that way. Leave the light on while you're doing this. The light helps you see dirt inside the microscope and you don't want to turn the light off. You need to you don't necessarily have to take the head assembly off. When you look down into the eye tube with the oculars out, you'll see dust in there, but that dust is never in focus. So, and all microscopes have it. So you kind of ignore that unless you would see a big speck of dirt and then you'd have to go clean it. But you take the oculars off. You can take the head assembly off if you want. Remember, you always physically hold on to a head assembly before you release it because the center of gravity is not over top of the microscope. It will just fall, knock the prisms out of alignment. It's a very expensive habit. So you could take the head assembly off. This is the head, this is the body. You come down here to the nose piece. The nose piece, sometimes called a revolving nose piece or a turret, like a gun turret on a ship kind of a thing. These here, and there's one little screw in the middle, a little bushing, and about 300 little ball bearings up in there. You don't ever want to take one apart because you're gonna have ball bearings everywhere. You can lubricate them without taking them apart. But that's the revolving nose piece. But the objectives, these things here, and that's what they're called, objectives. They are not lenses. Nobody in the microscope universe calls them lenses. So you call them objectives. They come in different magnifications and they just unscrew. You can mechanically just unscrew them. You take them and set them off the microscope, but you have to keep them in the exact same sequence that they were on the microscope. So my system is I start with the lowest magnification here, in this case the 10x. I go clockwise. And then once I've cleaned them and I put them back on, I just do the same thing, put them back on. You can't change the order. You can't mix them around because the lab techs are used to turning a particular direction to getting a certain magnification. And if you change that sequence, they're not going to be happy with you. The holes that they screw into are universal. So the holes are not matched to an objective, but the order is very, very important that you put it back on the same way. Down below the objectives is the slide holder. The slide holder is a mechanical arm that is spring-loaded, little spring underneath that cap. And the spring is adjustable. There's a little screw underneath the slide holder arm that when you loosen it, you can adjust the tension on the slide holder. And the reason why you would want to do that is that if it's too strong, if the spring is too strong, you can start getting little glass chips everywhere. That's bad news because the glass chips get down in the bearing tracks, damage the mechanics of the microscope. And it's a weapon against you. Glass slivers, even though you're wearing nitrile gloves, you can get stuck with that. The good news is most laboratory departments, everything you look at under the microscope is dead. So the slide holder is adjustable. You would take the slide holder off. If you have a Nikon or an Olympus model, relatively new, there's a big knob facing you. If you loosen that, the whole stage comes off. At this point, the objectives are already off. The whole stage comes off. When you you loosen it, stage lifts off, always turn it upside down. Don't ever put pressure on this arm over here. You can do damage. You lay the stage upside down. The condenser has a little set screw holding it in. Loosen the set screw, the condenser comes out. If there's a blue filter down here on the field opening, take the blue filter out. Then you're going to clean all those things. And of course, there's a separate video for all that, all right? Cleaning objectives, cleaning oculars, how to do that, how to do it properly. And once you've cleaned everything, okay, then you take a rag. You can wipe down the outside of the microscope. We're using 70% isopropanol, but if you put that onto a rag, you have to pour it onto the rag. You can't tip with a rag because the dirt from the rag will get into the alcohol, and you're going to be using that same alcohol to clean objectives. So you can get a little bit of damp rag with the alcohol, wipe down the outside of the scope. If the microscope has a label on it with pen ink, be careful because the alcohol will dissolve the pen ink. But you're wiping down the microscope, wiping down the stage, cleaning the tips of the objectives. You'll never clean the back end of an objective. You never take liquids into the back end of an objective. But there's a way to clean the objectives and the oculars. You can check the stage if it needs mechanically lubricated. There's a video for that. And you've cleaned everything. And then if anything is lubricated, that's where you would do it. You would then take the appropriate lubricant, whether it's the Triflow lubricant or the Toyota greases that we talked about in another video, and you can do the necessary lubrication. You can adjust tensions, how to make the slides, the stage move easier or more firm. There's obviously, as you put everything back together, you do Kohler alignment. That's the procedure to get the condenser exactly where it's supposed to be. Everything's clean, everything's back together, it's Kohler aligned, and then you have to do centration error, which is, again, another video, where we check the alignment up here in the head optics to make sure the left and right eye are seeing exactly the same image alignment. Otherwise, you get a headache looking through the microscope. Separate video. And the light's not flickering when you turn everything on. So you basically put everything back together, you go through those alignment steps. There is an optional step. If the pathologist wants you to calibrate an ocular micrometer or scale up here, you can do that. That's part of our training program, and there's videos for that too. But the pathologist is really supposed to do it. You're not supposed to do it. CAP sent out a memo, June 2020, said, hey, you need to do this. And boy, a hornet's nest opened up because a lot of pathologists who were not doing it correctly all of a sudden very concerned on how to do it. So, that the video would show you how to do that. So you check the centration error, you do this optional ocular micrometer calibration, only if the lab asks you to do it. You don't volunteer to do that. Then you go through a checkoff list, which is listed there. Please look at the handout. The first one is just like, are you getting good resolution? Is it parfocal? The second step, though, is a little procedural. It's making sure that the back of the oculars are clean. When we first clean these back at the second step, we always clean the top surface. It's always dirty. The bottom side is normally clean. It doesn't get dirty normally. People don't get fingers up in there. But if there's dirt there, it's going to show up under the microscope, especially under high magnification objectives. So the second step there in the checkout procedure is a bullet point. And here's what you do. You start with 10x, which is where you always start looking through the microscope. You click to 40, which is the blue objective, the blue ringed objective. And of course, the images are right in focus because of parfocality. And then while you're looking through the microscope, seeing cells, you go to your fine focus knob and you just blur the image out a little bit. Not a whole bunch, just to get the cells a little blurry. Then you reach up here and individually rotate the ocular and see if anything moves while you're looking through the microscope. If something's moving under 40x, then whatever's moving is obviously in that ocular. So maybe now there's dirt in the bottom of the ocular. You're going to have to go back and clean that and make sure it's clean. So that's a step that has to wait till the end of the PM to make sure. We don't routinely clean this at the beginning steps because it's usually clean and we're trying to save time. Okay, that would be a 3 or 4 minute process. And a PM, even if you really know what you're doing and you're really experienced, is a 35-minute, 40-minute event. So we're trying to save a little bit of time. 9 out of 10, it's clean, so we don't worry about it until we get to this step. And in this step, we're going to check and see if it's clean. So after that, all the checkout steps are the mechanical steps. Is the slide holder working? Is the IPD adjustable that way? Can you adjust the left and right eye? All those things are listed pretty clearly right there. And focus mechanism, the light's not flickering, it's just a checkoff list, but not a whole lot to do in that sense. We're just checking all the functions. And when you're done, then you're done with the PM. You have to record the information in your software and make sure that gets into the hard copy that goes to the lab manager. The lab manager, again, needs to have somewhere just once in that manual, his service record manual has to have that descriptor, like printed on the handout. You have to have that, or that's a phase 2 deficiency in a CAP inspection. The CAP also used to say that the records had to be available when the inspector walked into the lab manager's office. They've now changed that to where they have to be readily available. So that's a little bit of a problem because you call Biomed and you say, hey, I got the inspector here in my office. I need a copy of my centrifuge and my microscope PM service records. The problem is if in the Biomed department, if their software is down and you can't generate the report, maybe you end up with a phase 2 deficiency. So it's a reasonable request, from my perspective, reasonable request from a lab manager to say, I want the hard copy every time. Every time you come into my laboratory, you service equipment or PM anything, I want the hard copy. Because I'm not going to trust that your software is down when the inspector comes in, and I might only have 72 hours warning that they're coming. And on top of that, I want to see if your printout has that line item description, which is required by CAP. So that's pretty much it for PM servicing. This is just a real quick verbal overview that way. Please look at the handout there in the supplement or in the manual on page 40. All that information is there. All the components, procedures of what we did are all listed in the manual or in other videos available that way. So thank you very much. Have a great day.